Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Today, I am very excited, and this is going to be an active conversation. And there's a play on words here because we know the special guest. He's been on our show quite a bit, but we followed him through, I don't know, a few James Bond movies, maybe even 7, which is crazy to think about. My guest has also worked with other superheroes like Indiana Jones and a host of people in Star Wars, a lot of Marvel characters. He's helped build the body and the stamina that those stars that we emulate and look up to so much need to perform in the movies. And he's done something very special. He brought a series of books, and of course, we've talked about these right here, but he's gone one step further. Yes, he keeps evolving, and we're following this evolution. He's come up with a new book so we too can follow in the footsteps of what Simon Waterson has done with all those incredible stars. And today we have the man himself. Simon, welcome back to the show.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like we have these things so much. You and I are becoming like a relationship.
Yeah, I think so. We bump into each other in very obscure places. Or actually, I notice you sometimes out the corner of my eye on maybe location or something like that. Now and again.
Yes.
Now
yes,
and
yes,
now
yes.
and again.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you're very observant of a lot of things in the corner of your eye. That's great. But let's roll this back because we're going to talk about the book. I've had a chance to spend about a week with it, pouring through it, read it from cover to cover. Let's start with your journey, though. What made you write the book to begin with?
I think the book I wrote previously was kind of like it was a little bit kind of like more reflective of what I've done and telling kind of stories. This is a little bit more structured. It's a little bit like more. This is what I would get typically for an actor. 10 weeks is around a good period of time that I would normally get pre-production to get an actor in some kind of good condition where I can I can help them out and get them ready for a particular role. So this is just like the audience asking me, this is what we'd like. And so I've kind of given a nice structured kind of like book where you can start it. It's 10 weeks. It's very, very doable. Basically what happens is, week 1 to 9 is it grows and it becomes more and more intense. And then on week 10, I just basically take it all the way back to week 1 to kind of allow you to feel progression, because that's where I feel as we all do sometimes, like in whether it's in your fitness life or business life or anything like that, we never go back to the start, and we should always go back to the start so that we can feel progression. The problem is with a lot of training nowadays, it's kind of, or a lot of fitness elements, it's always like more and more, and we just carry on building. Take it back to where you was and feel like this is what I've achieved. This is great progression, and I should give myself some credit. So that's the premise of the book, and also as well, it's all the things that I've come across, the challenges within the kind of the film world, especially like the Bond world, and making all the little things that are relevant for, especially on Bond, being able to do the particular stunts in a particular way, but to be the best version of yourself and to draw some inspiration from a lot of the characters that I've kind of like trained along the way.
It is very inspirational. In fact, it's funny you mentioned the other book because I feel like this is the motivation. You read the stories, you get the motivation, but this is the payoff. This is as if somebody knocked on your door and said, Simon, could you kind of walk me through? And you said something very important that the book really connected with is that, and you've always said this to me, you said, David, it's not about the aesthetics. The aesthetics will come when the conditioning and the fitness is there. Tell me about that philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a mantra within itself, is that I don't really concentrate primarily on the aesthetics of anything. I just concentrate on the performance, because there's so much that goes into a movie, especially like, especially a Bond movie. There's so much choreography, there's so many stunts, there's so much action that you can't be just thinking about the way that you look. It's always about the way that you perform, the way that you move. There's so many different elements, especially to the Bond character as well, which just, you wouldn't even, it's about in the suit having amazing posture, and and the conversations that I had with kind of like Daniel in the beginning of making sure that he looked kind of like threatening but elegant and could move and was dynamic and had all these kind of like every element. He could do absolutely anything. And then the big one, looking capable. And that was the biggest thing. He just has to look completely capable. So I concentrated on the performance first. So being able to kind of like, I would mock out a lot of the stunt sequences in the gym. So from a roll into a jump to over a balustrade to kind of like going down to kind of like balancing down a balance beam to going over another balustrade to being able to do another roll to be able to kneel there, which if that's very easy to work out that sequence if you know them as well as you do in Mexico. So that's it's about I always, like I said, it's all about the relevance, and then the aesthetics is just a byproduct of that. So the look and how it is, how he was, his body is just adapted to be able to do what he's been asked to do. So and that's like I said, that's been a strong mantra in my kind of like journey in all the kind of characters that I've kind of like trained, because it's tough, because I see the characters in previs, which are they're drawn. A lot of them are drawn, or they can be kind of like almost like a caricature, or to show what the sequence is going to be. And I have to then add the human element to that, where I've got to do it for real. And to turn a human, into a drawing is very difficult. It's not easy.
And you've had the most extreme character humans. I mean, like I said, Indiana Jones and people from Star Wars and obviously James Bond. But what I loved about this book, and this is for those of you considering getting this book, it becomes a bit of an interesting story to itself. Like, it's not a book where it just says, here's an image, follow this image, I'll talk to you in the morning. It starts off with Tom Hiddleston, who seems to be, dare I say, a friend of yours and not just a client, who starts off by saying, the thing you need to know about Simon is he cares. He genuinely cares, and he thinks about injuries and the movement and your well-being and this thing, the whole philosophy and your mental well-being. How much of that came into play when even writing this book?
Yeah, a lot, because when I'm writing this book, obviously I'm still at work as well. So I'm living the actual book. So I'm doing the Tom Hiddleston 4 a.m. club, and then I'm having to kind of like write it. So I'm only writing from experience. I'm not having to kind of like draw upon anything that I've got to make up in any way. I am just literally regurgitating what's happening to me on a daily basis and what I'm implementing on a daily basis. So that's what makes it a little bit easier. But then just and like Tom like kind of like always says, and Daniel as well. I'm normally the keys to the car. So I'm the keys to their car. So as soon as they put the key in the ignition and the engine starts, that's their day going, and then they're running. So that's which is a really, really kind of like nice thing for them to say. And they're always so kind, and I'm always very considerate to how they're feeling. And you kind of like the mental side and the cognitive side of things, you have to be so aware, because the mental fatigue from playing these roles is far outweighs the physical fatigue. So you've got to be really conscious of kind of like, I know that your body is capable, but you're very mentally kind of like tired with everything else that goes along in those worlds, learning the script, kind of like everything, and then just bringing it back as well. I mean, because at the end of the day, we all have like an out of work life as well. We can't just be in work mode all the time. You've got to be able to like go home and do the normal things away from the studio, and you've got family and stuff like that. And making sure you're getting good sleep, making sure your nutrition is perfect, your recovery is absolutely fine to be able to kind of get up the next day, get in the car and go again and give everything 100%. But I have to say that the people that I've worked with, and especially Daniel and Neba, is that they're meticulous, and there's a reason why an athlete, whoever it may be, is at the top of their game, because they don't leave any kind of like stone unturned. Everything is meticulously planned, and that's what makes them a pleasure to work with, because it makes my life really, really easy.
I can imagine. And that's what made this book also enjoyable for me, just even as a reader and a practitioner, is when you read this book, you hear your voice. And I think people obviously watching this can identify your voice pretty easily. But you hear your voice as almost like a Yoda coaching us. It's not just pick up this kettlebell. It is, all right, on this week, here's what you want to do. Here's what you want to address psychologically. And you talk about nutrition. Can you talk about a little bit about the nutrition hints you had in here?
Yeah, and my nutrition is really kind of like simplistic, and it allows people to kind of like, the same with the philosophy of it all, and the methodology of it all, is that if you teach a methodology that you can take with you everywhere, that's what's the important thing. Because like, it's like we're all busy. We go to different places. You can be at home, you could be outside, you're weather dependent, gym dependent, you're in different gyms. If you train the method, you can take that anywhere with you, like this 5-2 method: 5 exercises, 2 minutes of cardio, 5 exercises, 2 minutes of cardio. As long as you know what muscles to fatigue, to work, and what you're trying to achieve, that's the biggest thing. Where it's confusing, especially with fitness, is like I said, we're moving around so much, and we're outside, we're inside, we're at the gym, we're in different scenarios. So once you've got it here, you can do it anywhere. And that's the same with the nutrition as well. And I keep it really, really simple and interesting. And I try to have theme days. So I mean, I have like vegan Monday and pescatarian Tuesday and white meat Wednesday, and Thursday's a vegetarian day. And then everyone's, well, if you're not vegan then or vegetarian, everyone's favorite day is kind of like red meat Friday, and and then do what you like Saturday, and that's it. And if you stick with those parameters and don't get bogged down in science and in the real kind of like finicky things that we all think about with nutrition, and we're all influenced by, and it's not too much of a fad, then it's a really easy way to live like your life and put it in a box, and you can take it anywhere with you.
I love this. All right. So I have a quick story to tell you, and it's going to dovetail into a question. So the other day I had a friend over. His name is Luke. He's another content creator, and he and his wife were staying the weekend. And I had 2 of these books because I got one for him. And I gave it to him. Now he's 31, going on to 32 years old. And he has been lamenting for the last 6 months that he's gained a little weight, become a little softer. The moobs are coming out. I said, listen, if you're willing, why don't you do this with me? I am going to do the 10-week challenge. I'm going to start with a conversation with Simon. We're going to start the process next week, and then we're going to go through every week, and we're going to put it on our Instagrams. Will you do it? He was so appreciative, not just of your book, which he started to read already, but the fact that there's a partner, somebody to do it with him when he's getting those kind of weaker discipline moments. So what's the type of individual, when you thought about writing this book, who is this book for? And do you find that it's always good to have sort of a partner program?
Yeah, and it is for everyone. And I mean, and I know that a lot of people will kind of say that, because I've used this very similar method, especially when working with Daniel over the 5 Bond movies, and I've used this method all the time. And we've, even through the age range of like 36 to kind of like 50-ish, we've used it, and the process is the same, but we just learn how to be a little bit more efficient, how to take our time a little bit more, like through different scenarios, how to and how to recover better. And that's the biggest thing. It's not necessarily the training part. It's the other bits. It's how to just be a little bit more aware of your nutrition, just be a little bit more of your recovery time as you age a little bit, and just be aware and be kind to yourself. And that's the thing. Don't be kind of like 50 trying to train like you're 25. There's just no point. And you're probably looking for very different kind of like goals as well. You've probably got very different goals. At the age of 50, you could be thinking about, well, I just want to be able to play in the park with my grandchildren, throw a frisbee, maybe kind of throw a ball, or all those kind of things, and just be able to be healthy and interact. At 25, it's a different scenario. We're all kind of like going, well, we're all very competitive. We're in the gym and it's a competitive environment, and subliminally, you're looking around going, well, I want to be able to lift more than you, or I want to be able to run faster than you, further than you. I want to be bigger than you or leaner. So I think we lose that kind of like complete competitiveness as we get a little bit older. We're a little bit more subtle with it. We still everyone likes to look great in a suit. Of course they do.
Sure.
Yeah, everyone loves the kind of like, to feel like you're getting an amazing night's sleep. I think those are the things that become more and more important. It's like, yeah, I feel fit, but wow, this fitness plan has really helped me sleep better. And it's like, I really appreciate now how to kind of like have a shower and then turn the kind of like the faucet to kind of like freezing cold for kind of like 2 minutes, for the last 2 minutes of my shower. The euphoria from that, and eating particular foods and being and living a pretty normal existence without restriction. I think that's the best thing to do. Be kind to yourself and live without restriction.
I think that's such an important heads up for the people reading this, because some people are going to get frustrated. Say they get the book and they're 5 weeks in, they might get frustrated. They might still grab their gut and say, why is this still here? I think you have to be aware and watchful of the other positive side effects. Like you said, better sleep. I've never not felt better about myself and about life in general after a workout. So you've got to look for the psychological benefits. The fact that I'm 55, I've done a lot of your workouts. I feel more flexible. Just the other day, I'm walking with my wife, Danielle. I rolled my ankle off of a sidewalk and was fine, totally fine, because of flexibility. So what would
Brilliant.
you say to those individuals that they're really fighting, on the fifth week, let's say, with discipline and following through?
I think with the discipline side of things, it's not necessarily that I'm telling you to grind through it. It's like, this is about being able to pick something up, put it down, go back to it, and then resume and carry on. So if you have got a week where you're absolutely, you're flat out, you've got family, you've got kind of like family things happening, you've got work things happening, put it down, let it go back to it. It doesn't matter. And that's what I mean. It's not about being restrictive. This is not about being too regimented. It's about being flexible and kind to yourself, so that mentally you can kind of like get these habitual little habits happening. And even if every day is a win, that's what this book is but all about. Every day is a win. Whether you get up and your habit is you make the bed, that's a win. You drink a glass of water, another kind of like win. You go for a walk, a win. So it's all about building up healthy habits that you don't really notice. And if you do all of a sudden notice, put the book down and forget about it, and then go about with what you need to do, what you need to prioritize. And then all of a sudden you'll just kind of like go, oh, I did drink my water today. I made the bed. I slept really, really well. Win, win, win.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way to look. I think that's the way to look at it.
Taking stock in the wins. That's another great mantra. It's funny, again, my friend Luke, who's doing this with me, he said what he did was he put your book on his bedstand. So this way, when he gets up in the morning, he's like, that's right, I've got to do something that's a win in my book.
Yeah, and that's the only thing you've got to do. And if you can live a little bit of life like that, I think you're absolutely fine. You're not on a slippery slope down. You're always kind of like walking up. You're always kind of like walking on nice firm ground, and collecting those wins on the way.
All right. So now that I've talked to you and now that I've read the book cover to cover, by the way, links are in the comments. You can click on it and see where to gather your own book and start your own process. I'm going to be starting my process next week. I'm going to throw something crazy out there. If calendars align, maybe towards the end of the 10-week process, you and I can actually get together face to face because I'm going to be in London no less than 5 times this year. So I'm thinking maybe we can start to align calendars and we can do a final debrief then. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think I'd really enjoy that, and I'd really like to see not only how you feel or how you look, um, the results that you think that you're going to get, because you're going to get completely different results to someone else by just kind of dedicating yourself to this 10 weeks. Some people will be all physical, some people will be all mental, some people might be a little bit of both. So yeah, that would be really, really interesting. I'd love to kind of like do that, and we can meet somewhere that's obviously 007 apt.
Ooh, all right. The mystery continues then.
Yeah,
Well, Simon, listen, thank you so much for coming on. Keep the books coming, my friend. This is a winner. Again, links are below, and we will be seeing you very soon. So thanks for coming on.
my pleasure. Thank you very much, David.
You're very welcome. And again, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.